2, 1.
Alright, welcome to the drafting room. I'm Architect Mia Montemayor.
I'm Architect Carlos Miguel Dionco.
And today we are here with our guest, Mr. Kenneth Lau, who is the visionary behind one of the country's leading high-end UPVC and aluminum window and door companies, Kenneth and Mok. So today we are at their showroom here in Quezon City, and we will be interviewing Mr. Lau, and he'll tell us his story and everything about this company. So from humble beginnings to handling large-scale projects, their story is a mix of craftsmanship, innovation, and sheer perseverance. And they recently celebrated their 25th anniversary, so belated happy anniversary. So welcome to our show. Please feel free, feel comfortable to share whatever you would like to share with us. So the Drafting Room is our podcast series where we interview our industry partners, suppliers, so that we can get to know more about their products. At the same time, we can reach more people who are not currently here with us today.
So to start, at the very beginning, how did you first get into construction and window and door business?
Yeah, before anything else, I'd like to thank all of you architects. Thank you for the privilege. Welcome to our show. Going back to your question, this was all mere happenstance, back in 97, I guess most of you were toddlers, some of you might not be even born yet. I was in the textile industry, so construction was farthest from my mind. My training is an industrial engineer from De La Salle, and it's always about production, always operation. And then back in 97, in the textile industry, I was approached by my friend, Mr. Mok. He was selling us textile machineries from Switzerland. And then one time we were in Europe for a textile exhibition. He took me aside. He said, why don't we try to do some windows and doors? I said, what windows and doors? He says, this German PVC windows and doors. So I took that into consideration when I came back, had some discussions with the family, and then the rest, I guess, is history. That's how we started.
So how did you come up with the name Kenneth and Mok? Why not Lau and Mok? Or what other names did you consider?
Actually, that's a funny question you should ask. When we started, there were 4 of us. My business partner and I, Kenneth, there's Stephanie, she's also a Filipino. And then there were 2 partners, Hans and Mr. Mok. Initially, when we started, the idea was to have Stephanie and Mr. Hans do the business. We are the background side. So as a joke, we said, what's our contribution then? So maybe we just use our name as the contributors. So it became Kenneth and Mok, because we were the silent partners then. But then the name kind of catched on. It was kind of catchy. So I said, okay. And as years go by, when I took over the whole operations, well, we didn't really wanted it to start like it's a Kenneth's business, nothing like that. But because the name sounds nice, sounds fluid, catchy, so I guess it catched on. Yeah.
Alright, that's an interesting story. And how were the early days like? When you're starting a business, and sure there were a lot of challenges. So how was it during the first project and those first months?
Oh, I tell you, in hindsight, if I sometimes think about what happened before, I really don't see myself being able to do that all over again. Imagine when we started out, I really had no idea, not the slightest idea about construction. And here I am with a small sample window. This is just a section. When I started out, it was a small sample window. We were lugging it around, going house to house. In my days, we had this advertisement in TV called the Electrolux Man. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but that's our generation. So we're going to knock on your doors, open your windows. So we are the Electrolux Man. I brought the sample window, knocking literally on construction sites and asking architects, sometimes begging clients to let us in. And that's how we really started, one by one, door to door, selling our windows.
How many were you when you started? Just you and...
Actually, if I try to recall, we were less than 10 people in the company. we started in a small warehouse back in Carmona, Cavite. And then at that time, we were even sharing half of the warehouse with another foreign company. Business was so slow, so tough, we even have a chance to play basketball inside the factory because there's no work to be done. But those were really the years. So going back, thinking back about it, it was fun, it was really a challenge. And I think I was very lucky. A lot of it is luck, and I have the Lord to thank for that, the blessings He gave us. But of course, the hard work that came along afterwards, and here we are today.
So how many years would you say it took before the company really got on its feet? I mean, really,
Stable.
was able to progress and got to a point where you could say it was stable?
I would say it probably took us 3 years. The first 2 years were literally, you started from zero, you go, and then one architect endorsed you, tried your product, but before they would of course try again, they want to see the end result. And as architects, once you get a project, from the time you get the project to the time you're able to deliver and install and let the client use it, it takes at least 1.5 years to 2 years. So it was only after the second year when the client started to use the real product, gotten the good feedback, that's the time word spread around. That's what we really started.
So your company is known for its high-end systems and attention to detail. How did you position yourself in such a competitive market?
Actually, when we started, my thoughts were, how hard can a business be? A window is just something to cover a hole in the wall. That's simple, that's easy. Compare from the industry where I came from with textiles, so many stuff, so many details. I said, this should be easy. This should be easy, no problem. So we never really actually targeted specifically, let's say, the high-end market. At that time when we start, who needs a window? So everywhere you go, you see a building being constructed, you go in, you knock on the doors, you show them the product, ask literally beg for a window schedule for you to be able to make an estimate. I remember one story when we started in 98. There was this construction, this building along Tala near Ross Boulevard. It's a tall building. And it happened that one of my classmates, they are part owners of the building, or the developers. So why don't you try? So I went there with my Swiss partner. We literally lifted one big window up to the 6th or 7th floor of a construction site to present to the architects, and then answer the questions, everything, and they were impressed. But when the time came that they saw the proposal, they nearly fell off their seats, because obviously at that time we were in competition with a local aluminum supplier, and we are PVC windows from Germany. So suddenly it was a big test for us, a baptism of fire, so to speak. So then we found out maybe we should scale down our expectations. So then I said, why don't we try house to house first? So that's how we got into the residential market.
So how would you say your products grew from the beginning and until now? I'm sure, I don't know how many products you were selling in the beginning, and then how would you compare it to what you have right now?
Oh, in the beginning, if I can get one house a month, I'll be jumping for joy, Oh, I got this house. And I go there every single day just to look after the project, make sure the openings are done properly, attend the meetings. So that's how we started, one house after the other. And then when you do one house, because you focus everything in there, so every time you go to a different market or a different client, you bring the client to the house. So I have to make sure I'm always on the good side of the clients and the architects. So super attention was paid on all of this. It actually really worked. It went by referral. There was no online facilities at that time. So we had to literally bring a client there to see, to test it, you know, so that's
It's
how.
analog.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So what sets Kenneth and Mom like work from your products? What sets Kenneth and Mom apart from the other suppliers?
I would say that first of all, primarily because we really have a superior product, and that's boasting aside. Because before we got into this, as an engineer, I think also, even though my experience may not be technically in the civil, in the engineering side, I know a little bit about the engineering part. So we really vetted it, took a look at it, and we saw that this is something we can really use. And the best proof of this is one of our very first project. I had to go to Naga in Bicol with an architect who was a classmate of mine. I asked him for assistance. He said, "Oh, good. I have an uncle who's building in Bicol. But are you sure? You know, Bicol is the gateway of the typhoons, Philippines." Yeah, of course. So we went there, and then I presented the windows. And then I remember, it was very poignant. I went to their house. The minute I walked in, I said, "How come there are so many sandbags along the window sills and the floors?" I said, "Because these are there to protect our windows when the typhoons come." I said, "Really? Is it that bad?" He said, "You don't know the typhoons in Bicol unless you experience it." And then I brought out my section like this, but it was something like this with steel inside and everything. I said, "If I can provide you a window that can allow you to remove all these unsightly sandbags, will it help?" He says, "The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Show me." So we discussed, and then he said, "Okay, I'll give you this break. You just promise me if this doesn't work out, you are going to take responsibility." I said, "Okay." So that was actually one of the very first few projects we had right along Naga, along Panganiban Drive in 1998. And on November that same year, I can't remember the typhoon name, the super typhoon of 240 kph hit Naga. No cell phones then. There was a complete blackout for 1 week. My guys were installing them, and I was so anxious, couldn't sleep, no way to ask what happened. And after 1 week, my guy came back. I said, "What happened?" He said, "You know, that evening when the typhoon hit, they were all cowering inside that new house, the building, and everything was flying around, but nothing happened. The windows withstood everything. The next day they looked out, the trees were all fallen, the posts were down, electricity was out, but they were safe in the building, except for one broken glass that was hit by a flying object, something we cannot control." And since that, we were so happy. I said, "You know, God is good. He gave me a natural disaster to show me that if we can withstand that, that means we are probably in the right industry." That's how it started. So the next exhibition, there was this big tarpaulin. At that time, still tarpaulin, there's no such thing. It's a tarpaulin with a testimonial that I got from the client to say that we were able to withstand a super typhoon. And people started believing in us.
It's like free marketing. Free natural
Exactly.
marketing.
So I said, God must be sending me a message. In a sort of funny way, but it's a message, so we persevered. And thank God we did.
But you know if the building is still there?
It's still there, and it has borne fruit because the family now became our ardent customers, and from there it emanates with referrals to friends and relatives. It was really good.
So we do have here some of your products. Why don't you show us or tell us all about these?
Actually, when we started, it was PVC. This here is the PVC from Kummerling, Germany. There's a separate story to this. When we started out, we were going with a different brand. Different brand, very famous brand from Germany. And then we showcased it. We were able to sell a couple of houses. And then when we were trying to ask for technical support from Germany, we found out that it was a German brand but made in China. So it was like an OEM thing that they had the brand but made in China. So architects and clients started saying, I thought you were selling us a German window. I said, this is wrong. So we talked to the supplier, they said, no, whatever problems you have, you deal with Singapore is the office, China is the supplier, we have nothing to do with it, the German says nothing. So we discussed with my partner that was one of the most difficult challenges we faced. Imagine you were just starting out, you pour everything you have into this brand, you start this, only to find out that you probably chose the wrong partner. So what happened next was, it was very difficult decision for us, but we had to give up that first brand because
What brand is this? Is it really, known also, or?
it's actually a famous brand. I don't think I would say, I don't want to get anybody to this. Also, I don't like to say I'm giving bad publicity, but when we started, at that time, there was a brand called Reha. It's very popular. They're very good in pipes. So, and I know the people doing the pipes, so I asked them, it's a very good brand, very good product. So we went with the brand Reha for the windows. We went to Singapore, discussed with them, and they said, oh, we can supply you. So we immediately ordered the first container and started the business. Only to find out, like I said, it was made in China. So then the architect who was endorsing us at that time with one or two projects says, no, this is wrong. Because at that time, there was this big issue. I don't know, again, I think it might not be familiar, but there's this big issue with the Mercedes van at that time called MB100. So at the top of the town, everybody was buying an MB100 van, only to find out it was made in Korea by Sangyong. Everybody got disappointed. So the architect says, okay, don't make another disaster like that MB100. Because you tell people this is when if things don't work out, and it's a cop-out to say, oh, because this is China. Not that I have anything against the Chinese product, no. But because when you sell something, you have to be honest and upfront about it. So it's okay, sorry about it. So what happened then was, we went with another brand, and it's a brand from Permaset, Germany called Kummerli. And then from there, we really made sure it's from Germany, all the technical stuff, everything, the hardware, the system. So from there, it really took off. But the first 2 or 3 projects that we had with the other brand, we had to literally remove and replace at our cost with the new one. So yeah, it was like you haven't even started, you already had a recall. No? So all these challenges was very, very tough on us for the first 2 years. But thank God we persevered and we were here. So again, going back, this is the German profile from Kummerli. It started out as white. At that time, it was all white, plain colors. But we realized in PVC, you cannot do dark colors. If you do dark colors, it absorbs a lot of heat. And PVC by itself may get some, when you heat it up too much, there's a tendency for the profile to warp and to, get some problems on the expansion. So the next solution is to do a foil system. So they did a foil system whereby the base is PVC dark color, but it can give you the option of different colors. And during the late 90s and early 2000, it was very popular to have wood grain wood. People like the wood grain wood, so we came up with various colors, the golden oak, the mahogany, the walnuts. So these are the looks. And then later on, it became the modern look. So it became more solid colors like the gray one, charcoal gray or whatever. So these are what happened. So for the last 27 years, the bread and butter of Kenneth & Mok has been this German PVC windows and doors from Kummerli. The system actually hasn't changed much because the Germans, when we were talking to them, we always join the exhibition, we go to the exhibition in Germany. They said, why fix something that is not broken? But they still keep developing something better, something to make the windows taller, wider. So from regular sliding, we have the lip slide doors that can accommodate taller, higher windows. And then over the last probably 10 years, just around 10 years ago, I was telling them in our travels with my team, with my management team, when I travel, we see the trend, the shift to aluminum. So a lot of architects were telling us, Kenneth, you have to look into aluminum because it's a cycle. But I said, when I started the windows business, all we see were aluminum, and we became the replacement of the aluminum systems at the time. Now you're asking me to go full circle and go back to aluminum. So if we do that, we have to find something that is different, something that is better from what we had before. So what happened was we searched for the minimalist door, the inventor of the minimalist door. And after a thorough research, we found that the company called Vitroxa in Switzerland, they were the ones who invented this. So the Vitroxa brand were the ones who invented the minimalist doors. And they have these minimalist doors that are flat on the floor, so nice. So everything is so seamless. And the hardware that you see, the intricate details of the hardware were so impressive because the inventor of Vitroxa is actually a watchmaker. So he's a retired watchmaker building his own house and tinkering with stuff like this, and then he created his own doors. And so that brand started and the trend caught on. And a lot of the new other, in fairness, a lot of the new other brands are actually offshoot or previously the partners or the supply or the dealers of Vitroxa. So we went with the best.
That's why it's so smooth.
See, it's so small, it's really so heavy, it's really so impressive. I mean, the Swiss technology precision is really good. And then having said that, the only difference is with Vitroxa, you have to buy the whole product, the whole door, standard, customized from Switzerland. So now, that does not allow us the flexibility from like what we have with our PVC, wherein we go in, we measure, we customize it for the clients. So, having said that, I told Kummerlich, the Germans, I said, maybe it's about time we also develop an aluminum system that can be patterned like our PVC with the flexibility where we can do the customization here, but also using the slimness of the Vitroxa doors. So they came up with the Kummerlich Alutech system, which is what we have now. So now we have two brands, that is Vitroxa with the customized from Switzerland system, and then one that we can do from here. However, the Kummerlich system is still patterned after the PVC, which is having a track on the floor. But architects now want to have tracks that are flat. So the seamless integration of the interior to the lanai should be flat, that I can have the same tiles go all the way out. But produce here, customized. So that leaves me with a dilemma. So again, we went to Europe, looked around, and really this time did our due diligence. We went to over 10 companies from Spain, Italy, finally settled to Greece. Okay. Then we met Alumil, the biggest one in Greece. They're the fully integrated aluminum company, from the making of the billets to the extrusion of the profiles, even the recycling of aluminum. So initially they have the same idea as Vitroxa. No, we will sell you finished product because they don't trust us to produce here. We showed them, we invited them over, we showed them our facilities, we sent our team there to study at the same time to exchange ideas. They found that we knew what we were talking about. So now they awarded to us the production, how do you call this, not the rights, but that they allow us to produce here, to buy the sections and literally produce and customize here. So now Kenneth & Mok has this Alutech division that encompasses Vitroxa as the customized doors from Switzerland. Kummerlich, the one from Germany, is also customized but with a standard PVC drop system. And then the flat floor aluminum from Alumil Greece that we can produce here. We also have another brand called Reynars, which specializes in the folding doors, the aluminum folding doors. So now it becomes very challenging for us now. Whereas before with PVC, you have one brand, several systems, but one brand. Now you have a division called Alutech handling various types of aluminum products, but each one not competing with each other. Each one with its own strength and its own special features. So that's the way we see it going forward.
So I think it's nice to have options, like for example, you get from Vitroxa, other clients,
Yes.
budget-wise,
Yes, yes,
go
yes.
to Alutech.
Yes. It's actually patterned somewhat like, this car showrooms. Like there are these car companies, they say, for example, oh, you come into the car showroom, oh, you want your EV, or you want your Porsche, you want your Audi, you want your Bentley, you can choose. So we were planning with our team, with our production team, with our marketing team. We said, why don't we make it this way? So when an architect comes with a client, of course they have the designs. Like you said, there's a budget to follow and the look that you want. So now with my team, we're redesigning the showroom that you see now. Actually, the showroom now is just we are still now doing a bigger one, an expansion, so that each brand will have its own space. So making this thing feel like an experiential thing for a client and architect. So when you come in, it's like in a house, like here, it's a living room, you have the forward doors, you have to take, this is the windows, the doors, then we feature different types. So clients have this feeling of, now they can see actually and touch it, what they are buying, what they're buying, what they want.
Actually, that's really important for architects.
Yeah.
Usually we touch materials,
Yes,
finishes.
But we got our inspiration actually from architects like you, because when we present, we show them the iPods or everything. It looks nice, yes, it looks nice, but like they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. It's really different. You get a chance to hold it, to touch it. So that's what we're trying to achieve over here.
Alright, so you just celebrated your 25th anniversary last year.
No, actually, 20, because we officially started in 98. So 2023 was our 25th year. So now it's already on the 27th year. Yeah.
Seems just like yesterday.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when I was starting, my son is with me now, is helping me now. He's just 5 years old. And now he's here, he's helping me. So it takes a big load off my shoulders now. I'm happy about it.
So how would you say that all of your experience and the challenges shape how you grew the company? Like, what are your principles? What are the things that you really make sure that everyone follows or is really kept within the company?
I think my team knows from the very beginning, I told you. They all know the story of how we came about. I mean, it's literally from nothing to where we are now. But I keep telling them, the one thing that really probably allowed us to be where we are today is number one, resilience. We really, in the face of trouble, challenges, or the resilience have been there. And secondly, I told them, it's being true to our word. From the very action that we did from the beginning, I mean, I could have just stuck with the original brand. Come on, nobody knows, it's okay, you can always get away with it. But no, because deep down you know you cannot do or start a business and then you promise someone something and then you don't deliver. And you don't want to start a business that way. So all through the years, I mean, there are plenty of projects we had that because the word of honor was there, something was not followed, what we had to end up just bite the bullet. But because you gave your word, you have to finish this, you did it. Sometimes really to the extent that we end up losing, but I said, never mind, that's part of life. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but we want to look on the longer term. And the most important part, I keep telling them, the architects and designers, when they help us, we have to learn to appreciate their efforts. And it's not as if we're trying to hide or anything, but because for me, I always envision Kenneth and Mo like an enabler of sorts. You're an enabler of sorts that all the stakeholders, you have to make everyone happy. Unfortunately, you are the supplier. There's the architect, the designer, the contractor, now there's the project management, there's the clients, and the clients have a husband and a wife and a son. So you have to make everybody happy. And sometimes, in the course of the construction, things happen. Sometimes some clients do not, when it turns out not to their expectations, so how we manage their expectations, then also at the same time keeping true to the designs of the architect. That's where really the challenge is. Really, right? You have to talk to them, sometimes we have to approach the client, approach the architects, and then, but somehow I always felt that as long as we have the best intentions of everyone, let's put away the economics for a second. It's not just about the money. Put away the economics. How can we help in this case? If something was wrong, how can we help? Can we make it this way, that way? So I am proud to say that I guess maybe one, definitely not 100, but maybe 95, 97% of the clients that we have are very happy. And that's what really keeps us going.
So the window and door industry has come a long way. What trends are you seeing, like for the clients and the architects as well, the designers?
Well, the funny thing is, some architects might not like what I say, but clients ask me that question too. Because they say we are in a tropical country with typhoons and everything. And yet, why do these signs get bigger and taller for the glass? And I said that's the beauty of it, because the architects, what the architects can envision sometimes, the clients cannot see. But as architects, you know, you're the architects, you have the vision, even without the door, without the house, you already know how it would look like. But for a client, they just look at the figure and the numbers and they say, why is it like this? So it's our job to come in and say, look, this is the intention, this is how it will look. Then we dig down into our portfolio of more than 8,000 projects and say, it would look like this, it would look like this. But of course, it's not also not professional to say when the architects are there, I bring out pictures of other projects. We don't do that. But on the side, actually, to help out some designers, we say, oh, this would look like this. The intention is to look like this, like that. So then the client starts grasping the essence of the design. And what we see right now is many architects are really pushing the limit. I mean, it's not wrong. You push the limit from, I remember when we started, the doors were typically 2.1 to 2.4 in height. It went to 2.7, then it went to 3 meters. Then now it's going 3.2. We have project at 3.6. We had one at 4.5. So it's really pushing the limits. So I said, but if that's the way to go, then because we see now in all these Pinterest, in all these pictures, all these nice drawings, so we also try to catch up. So that's where we see it going. But definitely because of the climate that we have, a lot of importance should be placed now on the glass. So we also partnered up with a company that was introduced to us by our German principals. This one is a very good company that does export glass in China. So they do an IGU glass or an insulating glass unit. That's the double glaze, or it can be triple glaze, and then it uses double layered low-E coating for the energy efficiency with the argon gas with very, very high visibility, so that your how do you call this, the visibility is not obstructed with additional load. It works very well. And I think the way to go is really glass that can help with the energy conservation, frames that are minimal but sturdy enough to withstand the height and the strength of the typhoons. Now, because of all these earthquakes, that is another thing we have to consider. So I think that is something we also have to see. Unfortunately, with earthquakes, there's no way for us to test it. With typhoons and all these, we can simulate it. But with earthquakes, I really don't know. But we have to really pray hard that God does not give us that kind of a problem.
Is there one project that comes to mind which you would say was the most challenging?
Oh, we have our fair share of challenging projects. But I think just recently, it's still ongoing. We have a project here.
Like architect Matella.
We had a project in one of the beach front. The plan was nice. It's a big house, everything big glass. So because it's far in the south, it's okay. We discussed this, everything. The deal was done. And just when we were supposed to start measuring and delivering, we went there and said, because we live by the cliff. So how in heaven's name do I get a glass that is, I think 2.5 feet wide by 3 meters high, out on a cliff to install it on the door? And because it was on a cliff, there's no way with any equipment so far that I know that you can bring in, let's say, how do you call this? How do you call that engine that goes there with the lift and then it brings not a furnace, the boom, a crane, yeah. There's no way to put the crane or the boom. The only thing that we can think of is to use a helicopter, and I don't have the means to do that. We don't have means. I'm not in any other construction project, so I don't have a means. So, and my team had to crack their heads literally, and I tell you, I could not even look at what they did. We had to put scaffolding extending out on a 100-meter high cliff, and then build like a temporary man bridge, and then have more than 10 people bring the glass out, and they were shooting a video to show me. I said, please don't show me the video. Just looking at that, my butterflies in my stomach were getting me crazy. But we did it, and they were amazed. And so for us, I said, next time, we should not just look at the plans, we should do an ocular visit and really see, is there a place for us to do? Yeah, that's really challenging. But that's we find ways. We also find ways to try to see that.
So, before we end, every company still has room to grow. So what is your vision for Kenneth and Mom for the next years?
My vision, well, the best thing that came out of this is 7 years ago, just before the pandemic, my son says, okay, I'm ready to join. And for me, that's the biggest gift because I never asked him. He graduated, he wanted to try the corporate world. I said, go, you try the corporate world and everything. I said, anytime you're ready, just let me know. So one day he came and said, maybe it's time. So that took a big load off my shoulder. And for me, that was the time to tell him, now that you have another vested interest now, because obviously sometimes we need to take after the budgets of the company. I have to move this further. That's when we really went out and really sourced out, went to see exhibitions, went to see countries and other suppliers to see what is there out there. And I believe there are a lot of products that will complement chemical involvement. Many products are in the pipeline, but I was telling my manager, Jenna, she's my general manager, I said, we have to do this one by one. As much as we have all the information and as much as we want to do this now, do that now, we have to be careful. That's very, because the thing different with chemical, and I was telling my son, my business partner, is because we have a brand now, we have 27 years of legacy. You just don't go inside and because everybody wants this, you just get some brand that's out there. You have to vet it, you have to make sure it works with your business model, with your principles. So it takes a little bit of time. But we have a lot of exciting things to come. Like for example, just now, you're asking, if you notice, we have been talking about windows and doors for external. These are the external glass windows and doors. We also have interior doors now. This FOA Porte here, these are interior minimalist doors. Used to be in the earlier days, we always used the Nara frames or Tagile frames and the glass. Yeah, these are now. So these are the slim doors, the interior doors. But mind you, this is wood. This is not aluminum. It looks aluminum, but this is willow, so it's different. You really have the real feel of a wood door in a slim section, but looks very modern, looks very sleek. And then the Italian people who supply this wallpaper, they do their own glass, so they can give you various sizes, various type of glass, laminated double with designs. You can have designs like this, you have a fabric in the middle, you can have half of it clear, half of it frosted. They can do many things. It's very exciting actually.
This was mirror-based.
Yes. The only difference probably right now that we have is with Kenneth and Mok with the interior doors. Sometimes we're joking. In a project, I have to work with the architect. Now I have to work with the interior designer also. So sometimes I don't know how to stand because I don't want it to feel that I'm taking my you know, the attention from here to here, so it's kind of difficult. So sometimes we were still debating, should we have a different set of salespeople to do the interior, to deal with the designer, because of course we want to give our full attention to the people, to the responsible people. If it's windows and door, we pay attention to the architect. If it's the interior design, we talk to the designer. But maybe because we're still starting out, it still works. We still have the same set of people. They work with the designers and the architect. But thus far, everything has been okay. We have not had any major issues about it. But if there's been an issue, or there's been a project, for example, that the architect specifies a color like this, the interior specifies a color like that. But the instruction of the client is, I want the color of my windows same as the color of my door. Now comes in, who do I follow? Now those are the questions I was saying before. So, well,
Yeah, that's a bit tricky.
yeah, it's going to be tricky. Good, but it's a nice challenge.
And there's still so much to learn about all of the products. Why don't we invite our viewers or people who will be watching to come visit, or I don't know how they can contact you. So whatever you would like to say to viewers as a last word.
Oh, thank you. For those who are building, for those who, or even if you're just interested, we at Kenneth Mall, it's always open. We may be shown open to everyone. We would like to invite people to come over and look at the products that we have. In fact, our goal is actually, one of the goals of marketing is also to open this one up to students, architectural students, designer students, or even just students who still don't know where they want to go, and maybe architecture or design is a part of their interest. They can just come, take a look. We aside from windows and doors, you can see the various projects that we have. We have pictures here to show. So we would like to share whatever experiences we have over these years with the people out there. So please feel free. I think we are at Facebook or Instagram, although I guess I'm too old for this, but we are there. We have a team who can take care of this. Give us a call, and we will make sure that we will be there for you. Thank you very much for this.
Maybe we could post the information in the video.
Oh yeah, we can say, click the link below.
Here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Kenneth
very
Lau.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that is
Oh,
Drafting
yeah.
Room, and we will be back another session.
Maybe next session will be with Kevin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure.